Leave me alone. I'm minding my business. I always knew I was a neighborhood sissy, you know, and thank goodness I learned how to fight early because I had to do it often. The church is like a safe haven for gay people, you know. People still try and deny it, but you know, the church is full of gay people. I believe that this is the way I was created. I didn't choose it. Who would choose it? The idea for Pouring Tea, the show, really came from my book, Sweet Tea, Black Gay Men of the South. When I started interviewing the men for the project, a lot of them were great storytellers. I mean, just really had me captivated. So we get on down and I never get it. And he started holding me tight and squeezing me, you know, and punching, not punching real hard. And then when I started to transcribe the narratives for the book, I determined that a lot of the stories fell flat on the page. And the reader wouldn't really get a sense of how this person sounded, how they put stress on this word or that phrase. And also, a lot of regions in the South have different dialects. And so I said, there has to be a way that I can sort of recreate the interview experience for the reader. And that's when I came up with the idea for doing a show. Well, in the South, tea in the Black gay community means gossip. We also know that sweet tea is a staple drink of the South. And so pouring tea means to share the gossip, to tell, you know, the stories that may be going under the radar, hidden under the radar. The show covers, depending on the venue, 8 to 9 men. And the ages range from 21, that's Stephen, he's the youngest narrator that I perform, to 93, and that's the Countess Vivian. Was there a gay community here in New Orleans in the 20s and 30s? Oh yeah, I hope to tell you. But at that time, I did not know or realize that they had white sissies. Because all the ones that I ever saw was on the other side of the track. Because the railroad used to run way over there, you know, the Southern Railroad along Canal Street, right across beyond Rampart there. And the gay bars were all black. Just like they got today, just like they got lesbians today, they got many, many, many lesbians, all black on that side. Like I said, I didn't know because we didn't see any white gay people because everything was segregated, you know. And he was born in New Orleans in 1912 and continues to live there today in the French Quarter. I love performing the Countess because he's such a gentle soul and really, really funny. One of the more compelling narratives that I perform is that of Chaz Chastity. Now Chaz lives his life as a man on Sunday and her life 6 days a week as Chastity, and is a hairstylist. But there's something about the black race that they're always able to call you out, especially the children. So I would enter a building, enter a room, be it church or the mall, convenience store, even a doctor's office. A lot of the people, especially the children, would see something, but they weren't quite sure what they were looking at, you know, because here is this 5'11", very statuesque woman, you know, large feet, large hands, but very immaculately dressed and very polished. It was almost too good to be true, you know. No natural woman would look that good, you know, or pay that particular attention to detail. Chaz's story is really wonderful because it talks about her self-revelation. She has a dream that is a turning point in her life. I won't give much more away, but it's a really, really powerful story. Michael is one of the funniest narrators that I perform because he's very articulate, but has a very distinct way of talking. And he tells a very funny coming out story that involves hair. And I had this high top fade thing, you know, and she asked me to do this hair show. And I said, yeah. And she said, well, you going to let me do your hair? I said, girl, do whatever you're going to do as long as you're going to pay me. Well, she permed it.
And after it permed, it fell down to here. And it was this really pretty long bang. And she said, "That's so pretty." And you know, because all this was cut off and then I had this big slope thing.
Perhaps the best storyteller of the people that I perform is Freddie. Freddie was born in Madison, Georgia, and now lives in Atlanta. And although Freddie's story is really tumultuous and also heartbreaking, he tells the story with such irony and humor that you can't help but be endeared to him.
Have you seen the movie Roots? You know how they held the baby up? I kind of use that analogy. My grandmother held me up and declared that none of her blood was in me, which meant that her son was not my father. So my father, being the weakling that he was, I think believed her.
The one thing that I hope people come away from the show with is that these men are human. All of them have a very unique story, but that story is a universal story in some ways. One of the things for me that's so rewarding about doing this performance is when I hear people say thank you for sharing these stories. It's also gratifying for me to hear stories from Black gay men who are in the audience who come up to me after the show and say, "Thank you for telling my story. Thank you for telling our story." It really lets me know that this work means something.